Hey guys, I'm a little tired, but since I officially finished step 2, I thought I'd do another video. I don't mind Shira, she's just going a little nuts right now. Going through my step 2 study guide. Because I did do a video for step 1. And I did a video for going through the study guide for going through that one. So may as well do it for step 2 as well. So, in case for anybody who doesn't know, step 1 is we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. And that never became more apparent to me than it did when I relapsed. When I relapsed, it really forced me to take a really good look at step 1 and really admit my absolute powerlessness over my addiction. I was never able to admit that before. I'd always was like, oh, I can quit on my own anytime. No. If I could quit on my own at any time, I would have quit years ago. And yeah, so I had to really get down to the bottom of it and admit defeat and powerlessness. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We definitely can't do it. Us addicts? No, not a chance. A higher power? Definitely. Step 1 strips us of our illusions about addiction. Step 2 gives us hope for recovery. The second step tells us that what we found out about our addiction in the first step is not the end of the story. The pain and insanity with which we have been living are unnecessary, says step 2. They can be relieved, and in time we will learn to live without them through working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. The second step fills the void we feel when we've finished step 1. As we approach step 2, we begin to consider that maybe, just maybe, there's a power greater than ourselves. A power capable of healing our hurt, calming our confusion, and restoring our sanity. When we were new in the program, many of us were puzzled by this step's implication that we had been insane. From acknowledging our powerlessness to admitting our insanity seemed an awfully large leap. However, after being around the program for a while, we began to understand what this step was really about. We read the basic text and found that our insanity was defined there as repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. We could certainly relate to that. After all, how many times had we tried to get away with something we had never gotten away with before, each time telling ourselves, oh, it'll be different this time? Now that's insane. As we live the principles of this step for many years, we discover how deep our insanity actually runs. We often find that the basic text definition just scratches the surface. Some of us resisted this step because we thought it required us to be religious. Nothing could be further from the truth. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, in the NA program that requires a member to be religious. The idea that anyone may join us regardless of religion or lack of religion is fiercely defended by our fellowship. Our members strive to be inclusive in this regard and do not tolerate anything that compromises the unconditional right of all addicts to develop their own individual understanding of a power greater than themselves. This is a spiritual, not religious program. The beauty of the second step is revealed when we begin to think about what our higher power can be. We are encouraged to choose a power that is loving, caring, and most importantly, able to restore us to sanity. The second step does not say, we came to believe in a power greater than ourselves. It says, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The emphasis is not on who or what this power is, but on what this power can do for us. The group itself certainly qualifies as a power greater than ourselves. So do the spiritual principles contained in the 12 steps. And, of course, so does the understanding any one of our individual members has of a higher power. As we stay clean and continue to work this step, we discover that no matter how long our addiction has gone on and how far our insanity has progressed, there's no limit to the ability of a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. Hope. The hope we get from working step 2 replaces the desperation with which we came into the program. Every time we had followed what we thought would be a path out of our addiction, medicine, religion, or psychiatry, for instance, we found they only took us so far. None of these was sufficient for us. As we ran out of options and exhausted our resources, we wondered if we'd ever find a solution to our dilemma, if there was anything in the world that worked. In fact, we may have been slightly suspicious when we first came to Narcotics Anonymous, wondering if this was just another method that wouldn't work, or that wouldn't work well enough for us to make a difference. However, something remarkable occurred to us as we sat in our first few meetings. There were other addicts there who had used drugs just as we had, addicts who were now clean. We believed in them. We knew we could trust them. They knew the places we'd been to in our addiction, not just the using hangouts, not just the geographic locations, but the hangouts of horror and despair our spirits had visited each time we'd used. The recovering addicts we met in NA knew those places as well as we did because they had been there themselves. It was when we realized that these other members, addicts like ourselves, were staying clean and finding freedom that most of us first experienced the feeling of hope. We may have been standing with a group of members after a meeting. We may have been listening to someone share a story just like our own. Most of us can recall that moment even years later, and that moment comes to all of us. Our hope is renewed throughout our recovery. Each time something new is revealed to us about our disease, the pain of that realization is accompanied by a surge of hope. No matter how painful the process of demolishing our denial may be, something else is being restored in its place within us. Even if we don't feel like we believe in anything, we do believe in the program. We believe that we can be restored to sanity even in the most hopeless of times, even in our sickest areas. And the first question asked in step 2 is, what do I have hope about today? So, I wrote, I have hope in my powerfulness in my recovery. In my addiction, I was completely powerless. But in my recovery, I am all powerful, and I do not need to be a slave to my addiction anymore. I have hope that my life will become manageable, and I will become a better and wiser person and to be a good mother to my child. I have hope in a better relationship with my higher power and with myself. And that's what I wrote for that. Insanity. If we have any doubts about the need for a renewal of sanity in our lives, we're going to have trouble with this step. Reviewing our first step should help us if we're having doubts. Now is the time to take a good look at our insanity. Did I believe I could control my using? What were some of my experiences with this, and how were my efforts unsuccessful? Did I believe I could control my using? At the time I started using, I did believe that I could control it. I thought that I could just use a little here and there to assist me with my weight loss, and once I reached my goal weight, I could just stop using. However, I soon found out that this would not be the case. I just got deeper and deeper into my addiction, and I lost far more than my goal weight, and I found myself withering away. I found that I could not go a single day without using, and I had lost all semblance of control. What things did I do that I can hardly believe I did when I look back at them? One is cutting so many people out of my life, including friends and family, becoming a lonely introvert, being so reluctant and exasperated to have to help out any friends or family members, refusing to help out with household chores, staying in my room all of the time, having no empathy for friends or family going through a rough patch, putting myself in dangerous situations in order to get my drugs, having my drugs be the only important thing in my life. Did I behave in ways of which I am now ashamed, and what were those situations like? As I previously said, I was ashamed of having no empathy for friends or family members going through a hard time, ignoring my friends and family and thinking like everyone was against me, when really it was only myself against me. Did I make insane decisions as a result of my addiction? Did I quit jobs, leave friendships and other relationships, or give up on achieving other goals for no reason other than that those things interfered with my using? I did quit a couple of good jobs that I had had as a result of my using. I moved across country twice to get back together with an ex. I left my daughter behind. I lost a couple of friendships that I had had because of my using, and gave up on achieving my goals also because of my using. Did I ever physically injure myself or someone else in my addiction? I only ever physically hurt myself in my addiction, never anybody else. How have I overreacted or underreacted to things? Well, I overreacted to every single small thing, and I underreacted to every single major thing. So it was like backwards for me. I always felt like, people were always against me. How has my life been out of balance? My addiction was all that mattered. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance did not exist for me. I wasn't maintaining a balance with any of those things. None of that mattered to me. Only my addiction mattered. That's all I cared about. In what ways does my insanity tell me that things outside myself can make me whole or solve all my problems? I've never ever thought or felt that way. I just thought that using drugs could help me manage my emotions and help me to focus on one thing at a time. I've always known drugs and alcohol are not the answer to anything. Is part of my insanity the belief that the symptom of my addiction, using drugs or some other manifestation, is my only problem? No, I've always known I have more issues than just my addiction. I have several. When we've acted on an obsession, even though we knew what the results would be, what were we feeling and thinking beforehand? What made us go ahead? Well, I felt and thought that maybe this time it might be different, and you go ahead of it because of blind faith. That's it. Insanity is a loss of our perspective and our sense of proportion. For example, we may think that our personal problems are more important than anyone else's. In fact, we may not even be able to consider other people's needs at all. Small problems become major catastrophes. Our lives get out of balance. Some obvious examples of insane thinking are the belief that we can stay clean on our own, or the belief that using drugs was our only problem and that everything is fine now just because we're clean. In Narcotics Anonymous, insanity is often described as the belief that we can take something outside ourselves, drugs, power, sex, food, to fix what's wrong inside ourselves, our feelings. If we've been clean for a while, we may find that a whole new level of denial is making it difficult to see the insanity in our lives. Just as we did in the beginning of our recovery, we need to become familiar with the ways in which we have been insane. Many of us have found that our understanding of insanity goes further than the definition of insanity in the basic text. We make the same mistakes over and over again, even when we're fully aware of what the results will be. Perhaps we're hurting so bad that we don't care about the consequences, or we figure that acting on an obsession will somehow be worth the price. Sorry, excuse me. Do I have any fears about coming to believe? What are they? I have the fear that once I believe, God might abandon me once I do. I also have a fear of having a normal life because I've always had the security of chaos. Also, the knowledge of a power greater than myself gives me some fear as well. I was also raised to fear God by my kind of Catholic upbringing. Well, not really upbringing, but influence, I guess you could say. And also not to believe in God or religion or whatever. That also influenced me highly, you know, being a native and residential school and all that kind of stuff, right? Sorry. Do I have any other barriers that make it difficult for me to believe? What are they? I have just always had a struggle between believing and not believing that there is a God and that there isn't. I've always struggled with it. What does the phrase "we came to believe" mean to me? Well, to me, it means a chain of events, people, places, and or things occurred as proof of a higher power in effect that brought them to the belief and faith that they now hold. Have I ever believed in anything for which I didn't have tangible evidence? I believe in my intuition, and I have had faith in things working out without having any evidence that they will. I've had positive experiences and a few negative ones as well. What experiences have I heard other recovering addicts share about the process of coming to believe? None so far. In what do I believe? I believe in Mother Earth and in my higher self. I believe in a creator of some sort. I believe in the power of faith and prayer. I believe in the laws of the universe. How has my belief grown in my recovery? My awareness of myself and what is around me has grown, resulting in me believing in myself and my higher power and seeing the connections between all things. I can also sense the spirit moving in the rooms every time we have a meeting. Do I have problems accepting that there is a power or powers greater than myself? Sorry, excuse me. No, I have always known of powers greater than myself, especially the power of Mother Nature. What are some things that are more powerful than I am? Well, Mother Nature, animals, weather, shamans, etc. Can a power greater than myself help me stay clean? How? I believe that it can because I can't do it on my own. It can because it is more powerful than I am. I don't know how it can, but I have faith and trust that it can. Can a power greater than myself help me recover? How? Isn't that just a repeated question? Absolutely, I don't know how, just need to have trust and faith in the process. What evidence do I have that a higher power is working in my life? Well, the fact that today I am now clean. I am a member of the NA program and all the blessings that he gives me every single day. What characteristics does my higher power not have? Greed, dishonesty, disloyalty, fear, lying. What are the characteristics my higher power does have? Love, honesty, loyalty, empathy, compassion. What are some things I consider examples of sanity? Structure, discipline, routine, self-evaluation, observation, patience, intention, awareness. What changes in my thinking and behavior are necessary for my restoration to sanity? More observation and less reaction to people, places, and things. More awareness of thoughts and actions and transform them if they are negative, and to take accountability and responsibility. In what areas of my life do I need sanity now? In just my ability to stay focused, as that is where I am really struggling at the moment. To be okay in being alone and having alone time, as it is contributing to my growth. How is restoration a process? Because it requires daily work, accountability, responsibility, growth, and awareness. How will working the rest of the steps help me in my restoration to sanity? Because they are designed that way, and following their structure will put you en route to success in your recovery. How has sanity already been restored to me in my recovery? I am still clean. I attend meetings regularly. My daily life has structure and routine. I am refocusing on my goals and dreams. What expectations do I have about being restored to sanity? Are they realistic or unrealistic? I consider them to be realistic, as the only expectation I have is to live a balanced and healthy lifestyle. Are my realistic expectations about how my recovery is progressing being met or not? Do I understand that recovery happens over time, not overnight? Yes, I understand, and yes, they are being met, but I do need to improve my focus on my recovery. It is a daily struggle. Finding ourselves able to act sanely even once in a situation with which we were never able to deal successfully before is evidence of sanity. Have I had any experiences like that in my recovery? What were they? Yes, I have. I have much more empathy, compassion, and patience dealing with friends and family. I find that I truly do want to help people, and not just on my own terms. I make choices that I know will benefit my recovery and not harm it. I take pleasure in all the small things, and I remove myself from toxic environments. Why is having a closed mind harmful to my recovery? Because it will put up blocks and hurdles that you will have to work at to break and or jump over. It limits your potential. How am I demonstrating open-mindedness in my life today? By not judging people, places, or things, by being aware and receptive and giving, by trusting and having faith in the process, the universe, the program, etc. In what ways has my life changed since I've been in recovery? Do I believe more change is possible? Absolutely. There's always room for growth and change. My life has become more stable, balanced, and responsible. My life is more positive and goal-oriented. What am I willing to do to be restored to sanity? Anything. I am open to try anything at this point. Is there something I am now willing to do that I was previously unwilling to do? What is it? I am now willing to put my full trust and faith in God and in the program. What action have I been taking that demonstrates my faith? By working on my steps and attending meetings regularly. How has my faith grown? It grows every morning that I wake up clean. Have I been able to make plans, having faith that my addiction isn't going to get in the way? Yes, I have trust in myself and in my recovery. What fears do I have that are getting in the way of my trust? Fear of trust in myself and my own willpower. What do I need to do to let go of these fears? Pray to God and ask Him to strengthen my willpower. Have trust and faith in God's will. What action am I taking that demonstrates my trust in the process of recovery and a power greater than myself, that I am working the program? Have I sought help from a power greater than myself today? How? Every day I ask God to help keep me clean and help me be a better person than yesterday. Have I sought help from my sponsor, gone to meetings, and reached out to other recovering addicts? What were the results? Yes, I have to all the above, and the results are always positive. I sought help from my sponsor going through a type of breakup. Meetings always help me and are the highlight of my week. Talking to my friends after the meetings always helps too. What action can I take that will help me along in the process of coming to believe? Daily prayer and meditation. What am I doing to work on overcoming any unrealistic expectations I may have about being restored to sanity? As of now, I do not have any unrealistic expectations. What is my understanding of step 2? That there is a power greater than myself, and that I need to have trust and faith in it in order to succeed. How has my prior knowledge and experience affected my work on this step? Positive and negative impact. Definitely need to learn to trust God more. And that's the end of step 2. Wow, was that ever kind of, a long one. Some of us may have unrealistic expectations about being restored to sanity. We may think that we'll never get angry again, or that as soon as we start to work this step, we will behave perfectly all the time and have no more trouble with obsessions, emotional turmoil, or imbalance in our lives. This description may seem extreme, but if we find ourselves disappointed with our personal growth in recovery or the amount of time it takes to be restored to sanity, we may recognize some of our beliefs in this description. Most of us have found that we gain the most serenity by letting go of any expectations we may have about how our recovery is progressing. In the second step, we will focus on open-mindedness, willingness, faith, trust, and humility. The principle of open-mindedness that we find in the second step arises from the understanding that we can't recover alone, that we need some kind of help. It continues with opening our minds to believing that help is possible for us. It doesn't matter whether we have any idea of how this power greater than ourselves is going to help, just that we believe it's possible. Practicing the principle of willingness in the second step may begin simply. At first, we may just go to meetings and listen to other recovering addicts share about their experiences with this step. Then we may begin applying what we hear to our own recovery. Of course, we ask our sponsor to guide us. We can't just sit back and wait to feel a sense of faith when working step 2. We have to work at it. One of these suggestions that has worked for many of us is to act as if we had faith. This doesn't mean that we should be dishonest with ourselves. We don't need to lie to our sponsor or anyone else about where we are with this step. We're not doing this to sound good or look good. Acting as if simply means living as though we believe that what we hope for will happen. In the second step, this would mean living as though we expect to be restored to sanity. There are a variety of ways this may work in our individual lives. Many members suggest that we can begin acting as if by going to meetings regularly and taking direction from our sponsor. Practicing the principle of trust may require overcoming a sense of fear about the process of being restored to sanity. Even if we've been clean only a short time, we've probably already experienced some emotional pain as we've grown in recovery. We may be afraid that there will be more pain. In one sense, we're right about this. There will be more pain. None of it, however, will be more than we can bear, and none of it has to be borne alone. If we can develop our sense of trust in the process of recovery and in a power greater than ourselves, we can walk through the painful times in our recovery. We'll know that what's waiting on the other side will be more than just superficial happiness. It will be a fundamental transformation that will make our lives more satisfying on a deeper level. The principle of humility springs from our acknowledgement that there is a power greater than ourselves. It's a tremendous struggle for most of us to stop relying on our own thinking and begin to ask for help. But when we do, we have begun to practice the principle of humility found in the second step. As we get ready to go on to step 3, we'll want to take a look at what we've gained by working step 2. Writing about our understanding of each step as we prepare to move on helps us internalize the spiritual principles connected to it. As we move on to step 3, a sense of hope is probably arising within our spirits. Even if we're not new in recovery, we've just reinforced our knowledge that recovery, growth, and change are not just possible, but inevitable when we make the effort to work the steps. We can see the possibility of relief from the particular brand of insanity in which we've most recently been gripped by our addiction. We've probably already begun to experience some freedom. We're beginning to be released from the blind pursuit of our insanity. We've explored our insanity and have started to trust a power greater than ourselves to relieve us from having to continue on the same path. We're beginning to be freed from our illusions. We no longer have to struggle to keep our addiction a secret or isolate ourselves to hide our insanity. We have seen how the program has worked for others, and we have discovered that it is beginning to work for us as well. Through our newfound faith, we achieved the willingness to move into action and work step 3. The end. And now I'm on to step 3. I'm going to bed. Night, guys.